What's going on, guys? Throughout my life, I've had tons of side hustles. Some of them paid really well and then others not so much, but I've always learned something beneficial from each one, regardless of how well they perform financially. Those exact skills have come in handy elsewhere, even in my daily career, so I really don't regret doing any of them, even the ones that were financial failures. So for those of you guys who are new here, I was a millionaire by age 30, and I recently posted a video showing you guys my complete income breakdown. So if you haven't seen that video yet, definitely go watch it after you watch this. It'll show you exactly where I'm pulling money in from and give you guys some ideas of the different buckets and side hustles that I do with my current situation. But in today's video, I'm gonna break down side hustle ideas for students. But honestly, these could really be used by anybody. But I do wanna note, for everything I mentioned in today's video, if there's one or two that you decide to go forward with, and maybe you watch additional videos on YouTube about those side hustles, just be careful not to go down the rabbit hole and watch the videos that really oversell how much you can make off of these, or even try to sell you something. Most of these you can learn how to do on YouTube or similar sites, or you can literally just learn them on your own through practice. But again, I want to caution you guys because they're called side hustles for a reason. They're not really a get rich quick or make your everyday living off of these things. They're side hustles for side income. So with that said, let's dive into these in no particular order, and I'll show you guys how you can make a good amount of money on the side. So starting off with number one, it's graphic designer. And look, wait, before you freak out and you say, but wait, that takes years of education. Yes, there are definitely requirements out there that will require this level of education and years of practice, but there's also tons of jobs out there on Fiverr and Upwork and other sites that pay really great hourly rates for just simple design work. I actually ended up minoring in graphic design in college because I knew it would come in handy later in life, and I also just liked doing it. But prior to that, I pretty much self-taught everything through YouTube videos and free tutorials that I found online and just asking friends for help. I taught myself Photoshop, I taught myself Illustrator, InDesign, and a bunch of other Adobe products, as well as other products out there. And I picked them up pretty quickly through just a few tutorials a day. Now, a lot of you guys watching are probably Gen Z anyway, so you're probably pretty good at online learning by now. But seriously, there are tons of free resources out there if you guys want to learn how to do graphic design. And there's even additional tools nowadays that I didn't have back in the day, like Canva, where you can really make pretty easy designs right out the gate with very little cost. So again, I decided to minor in it, but I self-taught everything before actually pursuing it in college as a minor. And before I pursued it as a minor, I was actually taking on work even before enrolling. Back then it was only a couple $100 per job, but some of them were like $600-700 depending on the scope of the work. I knew enough by just doing YouTube tutorials and videos. I could get most jobs thrown at me done pretty quickly and overall pretty well. And a lot of happy clients, I ended up getting a lot of referrals. So I had very little training, and honestly, like some of the best tutorials on YouTube are, how to make like an iPod or how to make a computer. Like there's all these tutorials that show you how to do these in the software, and you do it enough and it gets repetitive enough where you actually learn the skills by making cool stuff. And then when I got to college, I was getting hired to do like flyers and store opening events and all sorts of cool stuff that I never thought I'd be doing. It literally helped pay for like Chipotle and food while I was in college and beer money. So it was definitely a great side hustle. It took a little bit of time, and obviously you have to have somewhat of an interest in it, but overall it was a pretty easy side hustle that really did help pay like rent, other bills, food, all sorts of stuff in college, and it was a huge help. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And this one honestly goes hand in hand with graphic design, and that is web design. So nowadays, everybody needs a website. And a lot of people still don't know how to make websites. Even with all the platforms out there and the easy website builders such as Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, all those, a lot of people still don't really know how to use, even though they're pretty easy overall. So if you can master building websites on there, and if you get really quick, you can charge thousands of dollars for a good website. I'm actually planning on coming out with some free tutorials for this, so definitely like and subscribe if you can, because I'm gonna be rolling these out relatively soon. I know how to do Shopify, I know Squarespace, and I know a few other sites as well. But in general, I mean, if you can build a good looking website, especially for like real estate agents out there or restaurants who need online menus, like a lot of people just don't have the time or really know how to use these sites to make their own website. So they will happily hire you to outsource it and just have it done for them. And honestly, a lot of these jobs pay thousands of dollars, especially for a more robust website, like for real estate agents who have to list all their listings, or restaurants if there's multiple locations and each one has a different menu. I mean, there's so many different categories out there. And honestly, if you just go to the website builders websites where they have all the different templates, you can see a lot of the different categories that use these website builders. So anyway, that is number two. It's a great way to make side income. I was doing this in college as well, and honestly, I still build websites every now and again because it's pretty easy overall, and a lot of people just don't want to sit down and learn it, so they'd rather pay somebody to do it for them. And the next one is actually related to those as well, and that is drop shipping. So if you haven't heard of drop shipping, it's a really cool concept where basically you don't hold any inventory, but you're selling products. So the way it works, for example, is let's say you're sourcing from China. Well, you find products in China that you want to sell in the US and you market them under your own brand. And when you get an order, the order goes to the warehouse in China, they ship the product to your customer, and nothing ever comes to you. And that's the beauty of drop shipping. You don't have to actually keep any inventory on hand. It's really low startup costs. And overall, if you find a winning product, you can actually make a pretty good amount of money. I don't really post a lot about drop shipping. I've talked about it in other videos. If you want to go learn online, one that I would probably recommend is like Jordan Welch. He has a lot of really good videos about it. And honestly, if you're thinking about getting into it, I would watch all of his stuff. But it's something that I've done in the past. At one point, I mentioned this in another video, but I was selling like festival attire for, Coachella, Stagecoach, all that kind of stuff. So I would have these huge spikes of income during whenever those events were going on. And it was just clothing drop shipped from China to festival goers in the US. But because it was so cyclical and it really depended on the seasonality of whatever events were going on, I ended up spinning into something different. And it just so happened that my manufacturer over in China was also making bikinis. So I ended up getting into bikini drop shipping. The problem is I didn't really know a lot about it. So I ended up shutting it down, even though it was making a pretty good amount of money. I talked about that in another video. But anyway, I just want to say that you can make a lot of money in it, especially if you find a winning product. And it's something that's still very active to this day, even though some people are saying it's dead. It's just evolved. But anyway, guys, I don't have a lot of tutorials on drop shipping. It's definitely a really fun business. Definitely has some hurdles as well. So go check out some other YouTube channels. If it's something that interests you, there's tons of free tutorials out there. Okay, so this next one is gonna be something that I don't think any other video has ever mentioned before in regards to side hustles. I've watched a lot of YouTube side hustle videos out there, and there's a lot of great content out there and a lot of great ideas, but I have never seen this one come up in another channel's video, ever. So this is gonna sound crazy, but Lego actually appreciates better than gold. Let me say that again. Lego appreciates better than gold. In a lot of cases, appreciates better than fine art, appreciates better than watches. And there's a whole group of people out there that literally buy and sell it, and they'll store it and sell it for more down the road. But what's even crazier is you can get into selling the actual parts. And that's where you go and you buy the set and then you part it out into individual parts and you sell the parts. And the place that you do that is called Bricklink. You can also do it on eBay or Brickowl. There's a bunch of different sites out there, but the main one is called Bricklink. And what's wild is it's an online marketplace where people literally buy and sell parts. And on average, most people are buying the parts and doubling or tripling their money when the part sells. There's a whole online community that you can read all about it and learn all you want about it. And there's literally sites dedicated to tracking how well certain sets are appreciating. You can also sell entire sets, but I'm telling you, you can make a lot of money in this, and it is something that I've done before. It's wild how much these appreciate. So if that's an area that interests you, definitely consider it. There are some drawbacks though, and that is it requires a lot of space, especially as your store starts to grow, because you got to store all the parts somewhere. It's a little bit of a bigger upfront investment than some of these other ones because you got to buy all the parts to begin with. It's also a little bit more manual compared to drop shipping because you're actually the one mailing the parts. But these sites walk you through how to do all that. You just got to sort, categorize, and do all that. But again, Lego appreciates faster than gold. It's absolutely wild. So if that's ever been of interest to you, or maybe you had them back in the day as a kid, take another visit because there's a lot of adult builders out there now who will pay top dollar for some of these sets. Okay, number 5, especially if you're young, if you're a student and you're able-bodied, is helping people move or doing TaskRabbit jobs like building IKEA furniture. I did this a ton in college, and it's surprising how much people will actually pay for help moving their stuff, either getting rid of their junk or helping to build their furniture, because a lot of people don't know how to do it. And all you really need is a couple simple tools. You just show up to their house and you help build furniture for a couple hours. You can sign up for these jobs online through TaskRabbit, for example, or you can just do it around your local community college or wherever you happen to be. But it's a great way to not only network with the community and get involved with helping people, but you can actually make a pretty good amount of money doing so. I spent an entire summer just helping people move stuff and build furniture, and I actually made some really good money. And another great thing about this one is it's somewhat internet proof. People are always gonna need help building furniture and moving stuff. So I can't see AI or anything replacing it in the near term, maybe robots someday, but for now, this side hustle should be safe. So this might be another one to think about, especially because it usually pays a pretty good flat rate or at least a decent hourly rate. Now, one that I've talked about on my channel before that I wouldn't really recommend getting into anymore is stock photography or stock videography. Back in the day, it paid really well, but with the onset of AI, there are so many creators now flooding these sites with AI imagery that earnings every month just go down and down and down and down, and you really have to generate a ton of images each month to really stay on top of it. I made an entire video showing you guys my portfolio and what my earnings are, but at the end of the day, I think some of these other side hustles are gonna be a lot better in the long run, you might make some money short term selling stock photos, but I think as AI really ramps up and as these sites themselves start building AI image generators, I think creators and contributors to these sites are just gonna see their earnings keep going down and down and down and down until eventually it's just not even worth it anymore. It's kind of already getting to that point. So that's one side hustle that you probably see a lot on YouTube that I really just wouldn't even dive into anymore. 5-10 years ago, absolutely worth it, but nowadays with AI imagery and just how fast everything's moving, probably not worth it. Well, anyway, guys, I hope those are some fresh ideas for you guys that maybe you haven't thought about, at least a couple of them. Again, just be really careful when you're doing your research about these. There's gonna be some crazy claims on YouTube about how much these people are making doing whatever the side hustle is, and just take it with a grain of salt. A lot of it's kind of fluff. Unless they're showing you actual earnings where they're actually showing you on their dashboard what they're making, just take it with a grain of salt. And the same is true for the online tutorials. There's a lot of classes and courses out there. Some of them are really good and probably worth paying for, but a lot of them, you can just find the exact same information for free on YouTube. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Again, please consider subscribing if you would. If not, no worries. Hope to see you again in a future video. But that's it for today, and thanks again for watching.